Hello, everyone. I wanted to do a follow-up video. So I'm going to link the first video in here. It is about an e-commerce site that is suffering from keyword cannibalization, and I gave them a few tips to help clean it up. Now, what I want to talk about today is they actually applied the tips that I gave, and now let's talk about the timeline of when the actual keyword cannibalization would clear up and what type of timelines can you expect. So this is an e-commerce store. A little bit of background is that the main category page, saddle pads, was not ranking for the terms that they wanted it to rank for. In fact, the subcategory pages have been ranking. So on this category page, you have saddle pads, and then you have a whole bunch of really good information about saddle pads. But you also have all of the different brands or different types of saddle pads, not saddle bags. So what was happening, instead of this saddle pad page, the subcategories here are ranking. So you've got one that's for Eurofit. You have one that's square, one that's all these different types. These are the pages that were ranking, and it was switching in between which page it was going to actually rank. So the rankings weren't very good because this particular page is not optimized for the term saddle pads. In fact, it's more optimized, I can't speak today, more optimized for Matt's Eurofit, or the type of saddle pad that this is. Now, go back to the first video if you missed it so that you can understand the tips that I gave them to deploy. And what I really want to talk about today is they deployed these tips on December 13th of this month. So December 13th, today's December 30th, they deployed it on December 13th. And what they did was they linked from the subcategories back to the original category page. So here you have Matt's Eurofit, and they are interlinking it back to the saddle pads page because this is the page that they want to rank for saddle pads and maybe any of their secondary keywords. Now, they carried this through a majority of the subcategory pages, and it's linking back to the main saddle pads page. I discussed anchor ratios with them and everything else so that they were able to deploy it as quickly as possible. And you'll see that some of these pages, subcategory pages, are linking back to the main category page, and it's giving the site structure. Now, where we are interlinking is in the actual content of the page. So here we have a Matt's Luxury Endurance Cotton Sheen Saddle Pad, and then they're linking this back to the main Matt's Endurance category page because this is a subcategory of the main category, to explain it really, really quickly. Now, they deployed all of that and they are interlinking, and they did do it exactly as I had asked them to do. However, we still have keyword cannibalization, and that's why I want to talk about timelines. So if you're cleaning a site up, you know what to expect and when to expect it. So what's interesting is today I went and checked the keyword, and the keyword that is actually ranking, or the page that is actually ranking for saddle pads, is this HKM, I can't even pronounce it, saddle pad. And you notice in the URL, there is saddle pad. Now, this might have to be updated in a future update if the keyword cannibalization does not clear up. Having that in your URL does increase the chances that this page might get picked up for saddle pad because you have it in the meta title and now you have it in the URL. Now, notice on this actual page, there's not a lot of content. In fact, there's no content. And it's just linking to the categories that match this particular HKM brand or type. I'm not really versed in saddle pads, so I don't know the brand versus the type, that type of thing. But I understand the website structure. And what I wanted to point out is if you have keyword cannibalization going on, and this is the structure that you deploy to help clean it up, which is interlinking from the subcategory pages to the main category pages. And creating a site structure for the site, you will not see keyword cannibalization clear up for 2 to 3 months. And let me explain. Once you have interlinked all of these pages the way that I've asked them to interlink them back to the main category page, once you have done that, and you've got each of these category pages linking back to the main most valuable saddle pads page, to get this to clear up, Google now has to crawl all of these pages that you put internal links on. And so it's going to crawl all of the pages. It's going to, check what's on the page. It's going to go through the indexing process, which, by the way, is super slow these days. I mean, really slow. And so even though the bot is visiting your page, that's no indication that it's been indexed and the content on the page has actually been considered. So you're in for a pretty long wait. And what I would expect to see with a site of this size and with the changes that we made within the internal linking, you're looking at 2 to 3 months to fully clear up. And in fact, one of these other pages, in fact, this page, HKM page that I pointed out a minute ago, is currently ranking for the saddle pad page. Now, let's say this is what the client deployed, and let's say they, in 2 to 3 months, don't see this cleaned up. I gave other types of things that you can do in the video, and one of them was backlinks. So you can double down on your internal linking, and while you're waiting, you can then work on backlinks, or you can continue to interlink this particular site. Now, because the wait is so long to have Google crawl over the pages, give you credit for everything that's on the page, and then translate that into which pages are actually ranking in the SERPs, because that takes so long and because that is a long time to wait, this is why I take care of interlinking at the beginning of a project so that we can start the clock of the wait of how long it's going to take before Google rewards us for creating a really nice site structure within the content in the interlinking. So that's why when I get a site, I start interlinking first, or I take a look at interlinking to see if I'm going to need to make changes, or if there's interlinking issues, I will insist that we start to make the changes at the beginning of the campaign and not towards the end of the campaign, because there is such a long wait. So if you have taken my advice and tried to clean up keyword cannibalization with any of the tips that I gave in the first video, just know that how big that your website is and how many links that you are interlinking to, how many internal links did you have to make on the website? How many does Google have to consider once the bot has crawled and once it is all indexed? The larger the site, the larger your wait to get the results. The smaller your site, the smaller the wait to get to the results. So that is the type of timeline that you can expect when you're trying to clean up keyword cannibalization. And it can be a long wait, but while you're waiting, you can continue to interlink the rest of the site. Or you can double down and start doing some backlinks like I mentioned in the other video. But I wanted to discuss the timeline so that if you've done the work and it hasn't cleaned up in 2 weeks, you're not worried about it. You know you're still right within the timeline. So if you guys have questions about timelines for any other aspects of SEO, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video to discuss the timelines that I'm currently seeing. And I'll see you guys in the next video.